So joining me today is retired motorcycle racer Steve Pater. So I suppose everyone watching this is going to be going absolutely mad with me asking this question to literally everybody I've had on. But how have you been getting on throughout the lockdown? And I suppose how's the transition now kind of coming out of it? How is it kind of the transition coming back to normality, I suppose?
First of all, I feel quite hurt. To be called retired makes me feel really flipping old. It's bad enough my daughter's giving me earache about being old and getting on a bit.
Well, it was either ex-road racer or retired, and I was saying retired sounds nicer. So.
No, I'm really joking. No, I've really loved it. The kind of the lockdown. I mean, earning zero, of course, is an issue. However, loads of free time, gives you a chance to get caught up and to live like how we used to years ago to a certain degree, and just kind of be in a relaxed fashion with everything from going out doing a bit of running to working on my own places. It's been lovely. It's been great. But of course, BSB started back up again, so I'm busy looking after the Ducati Tri-Options Cup there. So, and various of them got various testing programs and things on. So it's kind of catching up and real busy again. So it's nice.
And so now we've done the whole lockdown thing, and not to make you feel old again. Well, you're not old. But, so you began racing in the mid-90s, and you took your maiden win in Cadwell Park on the circuits. So starting out, you obviously started out on the circuits. Did you kind of start out circuit racing thinking it'd be a pathway into road racing, or were you just kind of using this as a platform to start racing? How did it all sort of come together?
You know what? I'm a bit of a kind of a freak of nature, I suppose, because I started racing very late in life. I was riding around on a road bike with friends, and back then, the same as everybody else, being a bit of a lunatic and touch wood, getting away with it. Me and myself and three friends, we went on a race call at Cadwell Park, and this was 1993. So quite a few years ago, and you got about 20 laps on track, and they said, "Oh, you're really good, you should have a go at racing." And I was kind of getting a little bit fed up with doing the same thing and riding around like a lunatic, so I kind of decided to sell my road bike and buy a race bike, and that's where it all kicked off. But there was no interest at all in doing it professionally or for a living. It was purely to get away or get that adrenaline out of my system at the weekend on a racetrack and have a few beers on the night before in the clubhouse and just do what everybody did in those days and enjoy the weekend.
So leading on from that then, as you say, you never actually pictured it, being your career or having such success in it, I suppose. But you had a fairly lengthy career of 17 years, not only just on the circuits or the roads, but in kind of all the different disciplines. You did a bit of endurance racing as well. So I suppose just to kind of go hone in on the road racing for a minute. So Northwest, like Isle of Man, how did kind of all that come around? Like, you said you were racing on the road and then you went to Cadwell Park. How did it kind of come that, oh God, I'm riding the Isle of Man TT?
Of course, I'd heard of the Isle of Man TT because obviously it's massive, but I'd no real interest in racing there. I think I didn't really trust myself to a certain degree. But, I'd been to the Northwest 200 the year before I started racing, and Foggy had done a double there, lap record or something, and really enjoyed the atmosphere. I was with a bike club at the time, and a big gang of lads and couples actually. It was really good and really enjoyed it. And so kind of, I suppose, in the back of my mind, that was on my radar a little bit. And I raced at the Northwest my second year of racing, just on a Supersport bike. But just kind of that was more for the atmosphere of anything. It was such a good, it was a great, obviously, well, it still is a fabulous event, very sociable, and the organisers gave you a few quid, pay for your travel, even as a newcomer. So it's kind of really worthwhile and a good bit of fun.
It was 2008 or 2009, probably one of your best seasons. British Supersport champion and Isle of Man TT winner, Northwest. And did you also ride in the British Superbike while you were in British Supersport?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I think I only did one round in the end because they asked me to do more, but I said no because I was concentrating obviously for Honda on the Supersport there. I'll tell you what happened. It was Josh Brooks' first year over, and he never got his visa finalised early enough, so he wasn't arriving in time for round one, which is Brands Hatch. And I'd never even, we'd been away testing in Spain and various places, and I hadn't even ridden the current Fireblade. So they said, well, I said, yeah, okay, I'll ride anyway. And Adrian Gorse, the crew chief for Josh, so I was alongside Adrian. He's a real good guy. And we went to Brands Hatch, and I kind of, clicked with the bike straight away. And I led the first race and crashed at Druids Hairpin, fighting McGintoli and Camia, I think. And then the second race, I had an out-and-round back tyre, actually, and I led it for a little bit and then dropped back to third place. So it was a good weekend. I also rode the Supersport and won that race. So it was a busy flipping meeting, it was. And not just that, as soon as I finished the race at the end of race day, I jumped in the motorhome and drove to Le Mans for the 24-hour to ride for 10 Carter as well. So it's a busy couple of weeks.
And then throughout your career on the circuits anyway, you predominantly raced with Yamaha and Honda, as you mentioned there. Were they kind of, I suppose, the bikes to be on at the time, or like what else was kind of, were they kind of the ones, was that kind of where you wanted to be?
Yeah, from a very early part of my career, I was riding Hondas anyway as a privateer. Great package, great bike on Supersport, and then I moved on very quickly to ride for it was called the Sanyo Honda team actually at the time, which is a Russell Sabre, and Mick Grant was team manager, a great guy who kind of oversaw my whole career really, Mick. But that was kind of the time with Honda. That was my first year. I think I'd only been racing 3 years or 4 years. That was my first year on a salary from Honda. So Honda really looked after me and kind of brought me through the ranks, really. They allowed me to do an awful lot of things. And then I also got tied in with the Yamaha, but that was more on the superbike side, in all fairness. First of all, I rode for Kawasaki on the superbikes for a couple of years when I first jumped on them I rode for Kawasaki France for 10 years at World Endurance, but also that tied me into Kawasaki UK to ride the superbikes.
Kind of moving on now from after you'd retired. Well, I'm not going to say retired, because after you kind of stopped racing and still interested in them, but stopped racing. You took on kind of like a presenting / commentating role, with the TT and whatnot. But what's it like going back, I suppose, now to the Isle of Man? And you're going back obviously now, kind of looking and spectating at, like, the lads that are out there like Hickey and all that. But what's it like going back and kind of looking at what they're doing now and thinking? I suppose it probably brings back a lot of memories and a lot of different feelings. But like, what is it kind of like? I suppose I'm asking this in a really, kind of in a really roundabout way. I'm asking you, what do you feel like when you go back to the Isle of Man TT now?
I love the event, of course. It's got holds a big place in my heart. Not just because of my CV there, but purely because I just love the whole event, the atmosphere. Obviously the action. It's a great place, and I love the Isle of Man away from racing. Myself and my wife and my kids have been there, and my mother and father have been there holidaying as well, away from the motorcycle racing. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. But to answer your question, going back, I got my first shot there really commentating alongside Craig Doyle, Whittam and Parrish, and I can't think who else was there at the time, when I was injured in 2010. And then I've been there every year since, helping out, doing the kind of I don't really do the commentary. I do various other things, but, the good thing is you're always alongside a great presenter. The moment's Matt Roberts. As he's brilliant. And Matt's brilliant. He's not an expert on motorcycles, and he on the technical side of me, and he's fully aware of that. So he's kind of really switched on. It kind of uses you perfectly, and I really enjoy it and enjoy being with the guys.
It's nice, that balance, though, because I only had Matt on there, I think, last week, and he was saying it is nice, that balance, like the likes of yourself, and if Whittam and those kind of lads are on, it's kind of nice to have like a racer's perspective and then him kind of bringing it across from a presenter's point of view.
Yeah, and it always changes at the Isle of Man, as you know, with the weather and obviously the schedule's changing over the last few years quite a lot, and it's really difficult for the organisers and the clerk of the course, the Gary Thompson. So there's quite a lot of the time you're trying to find things to fill in, so you're buzzing around the paddock trying to find out what's going on and meeting people, which I love anyway. At the same time, you're desperately trying to find something decent to ride around on the parade as well, if it hasn't been pre-arranged. So yeah, it's great, it really is, and when the weather's fabulous, what the Isle of Man's like, it's just so nice and picturesque.
So as well as that, you're also now a test rider, is it? So you're doing that and track days. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I've done quite a lot of test riding over the years, in all fairness. I always enjoyed testing with my teams, and, it's always kind of really important as a competitor not to try and tell the guys what's wrong. Sometimes it comes from experience. You can shorten the time down to put things right, but, it's not really my job to tell them exactly what's wrong. It's to give them the feedback, accurate feedback, to let them work out what the issues are, especially these days with electronics and, kind of, they can look at everything anyway. You can't get away with anything on motorcycles these days. They can see exactly what you're doing, whether it's right or wrong. But I love it. I enjoy it. I do quite a lot of testing. I'm out tomorrow actually testing again, and I also do quite a lot of product launch with Honda. For their new models every winter somewhere over in Europe. With all the journalists. So it's lovely.
And then on the track day side, you do a bit of coaching in the likes of Spain and stuff as well with up and coming riders. I suppose with your vast knowledge and your kind of experience in the sport, it's probably nice as well to be able to kind of pass that on to the next generation of bikers coming through as well.
Hey, it's only nice when they listen and take it.
That's very rare, isn't it?
I'm not being smart, but there's only one fool in life, and that's the one that doesn't listen. Really pick out the best bits that's good for you and and your style and so on. But I really enjoy it. I've been teaching now for about 17 years, I think, on circuit. I do really enjoy it. I'm probably teaching less now because I'm so busy doing many other things, with a flipping camera in my face normally. But I still really enjoy it, and of course it's nice to get out and ride all the modern bikes around. So I'm a very lucky person.
Somewhere that you were a stunt rider in one of the Mission Impossible films, or was that?
Yeah, I worked. It was a few of us actually. I worked on Mission Impossible 5, which was based. The scenes that we were shooting there was based in Morocco.
Okay.
But I was down to ride motorcycles. That was what was kind of what the first job was. But they cut the amount of scenes with bikes and the number of bikes. So they said, "Oh, you're not going to be riding a bike now." I said, "Oh, great, I've just booked a month off, from not doing anything else." I said, "Oh, don't worry, you can come and drive a car." So we did various things from motorway scenes. In all fairness, it's quite boring, really. I read a book, sat in a flipping car on these motorway scenes when they're jumping around and you're getting fired up. But hey, I enjoyed it. It was good,
So,
it's good money, it's great money, but it's not my lifestyle. It really isn't. It's you pull from pillar to post and you live out of hotels, and it's too much time away from the family. So I wouldn't. I'd love to go back and do some bits and bobs, but it's kind of sometimes you get asked to do various things, but you got to be in the right place at the right time.
And so I suppose with kind of this season being a bit of we got BSB on the road and MotoGP and whatnot, but I suppose with the season being kind of cut short, what's the plan for the rest of the year and kind of coming into 2021?
Well, I'm still working with Ducati, looking after the Tri-Options Cup, which is a support series for BSB, all on the same bike. It's a new V2 Ducati. It's great. I love it. And in all fairness, it's quite a lot of work away from that. As long as I put all the effort in away from the racing, then it's a very easy weekend at BSB. So we're at 5 of the 6 BSBs this year. So that keeps me busy enough. That's going through to, I'm just looking at the wall planner, October the 17th. Of course, there's no bike show this year, so I won't be doing any work there or hosting or social media stuff. So probably I'm going to be very quiet from that date. I think I've got a Stafford show in October as well, but from there onwards, it's very, very quiet until we start doing some product launches, probably with Honda in the new year.
Well, please God, and fingers crossed that next year anyway won't be as weird, I suppose. It's the only word I can use to sum it up as this year. And hopefully, we'll see you soon of the TT and Northwest and all the rest of it. But until then, have a good year, and we'll see you soon. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Thank you.